Well, we're back for another edition of Les Kevin, More Tech from UTECIT.com. So, Les, our guest today is going to be a fun guest today. I hope.
I am thinking it will be.
Because this is the guy that sold us a swampland in New Jersey to close the podcast studio and build a new one. And he said, never mind. There's a lot of offers. Go over asking price, right?
Way over.
Yeah. And he's offering bridges, too. I understand.
Yes. We're going to get bridges, too, with that, right? So, Scott Griffith from Griffith Realty.
Thank you. Thanks.
Scott.
Good to see you guys. Yeah. Good to be here.
So I understand that he's a local real estate mogul.
Mogul is the right thing.
Mogul's the word. Yeah.
I think it was monkey, but yeah, whatever.
All right, well.
He is Mr. Livingston County, right?
Got it.
There you go. Yeah. Well,
So,
been around here a long time. I guess that makes you old, right? Yes.
well, family, deep ties to there,
Deep
right?
ties. Yep. I'm afraid. So my kids represent the 6th generation in Livingston County on my wife's side of the family and on my mother's side of the family.
Wow.
So yeah, been here a long time.
Yeah, no doubt. So what got you in that? I just got to, I know you guys are buddies and know each other, but so you're beautiful real estate house. I drove past it. It's got that classic look, great signage.
Nice.
Nice look. How'd you get into that game?
So it's family again. So Kannel Realty in Howell was started by my grandfather in the 1920s. And when my father started dating my mom and then subsequently got married, he went into business with him. So was my dad and my grandfather, but it was Kannel Realty. I named after my grandfather. And then my sister and I, of course, in a real estate family, got our licenses at 18 as we graduated high school. And we do it in the summer for summer jobs, you know. And I had my broker's license. I got an insurance license. I got all these certifications because it's just like you got time and you're a kid and you can learn. So I did it all, you know. So I went off and out of college and decided I'd do corporate life. So I did corporate real estate for a few years and realized I didn't like working in a corporation.
Yeah.
You know, I like to say, you know, when you grow up in a family of your own business, you know, I'd say there were days I did not deserve a check, you know, and then there was other days I go, they do not pay me enough, you know. And I kept thinking I could make more of the second, you know. So anyway, I came back and my dad said, you know, I think I'd like my own broker's office. And my sister she's only a year younger. She was doing work for a petroleum company that was a wildcatter and she didn't like it. So we said, we'll do it together. And so we bought a franchise because we're in our 20s. And so we bought a franchise because we didn't think many people were walking to our office and go, boy, I want to work with 2 kids, you know, they give us credibility. So we started with ERA Griffith Realty, and then over time, our name was better known than the franchise, and so we dropped the franchise, and that's how we get where we are today. You know, 40, getting close to 50 years later, here I am. You know, so yeah.
It's got to be boring selling real estate through Brighton and Howell because nothing's changed in those 40 years.
Yeah, you know, it's the same old. Well, you know, and, you know, so people ask me, you know, about coming home. I go, well, you know, I would not be able to come back to where I grew up. I mean, it's just, that would be like what? But I really grab hold of change and like change. And if there's one thing Livingston County has is it changes. It changes a lot. And I mean, literally, it's changing all the time. I mean, I'm on the DDA and look at downtown Brighton. It's changing again, you know. So, I like that. I think it's dynamic. It makes you feel like things are going on, you know. I just can't get too rooted, you know. So,
so how did you 2 guys meet?
So Kevin and I, we went to church together. We lived in the neighborhood up the street. We both had Newfie dogs for a while, you know. So, and then, you know, once you know people in town, you always know people in town, right? So,
and with my wife's luck with those Newfies, it's only for a while. We've gone through those Newfies like crazy.
Well, yeah, sadly, Newfies are only a short time experience, you know. So yeah, so we don't have a Newfie anymore. My wife said enough of the hair.
So Kevin calls me up and says, hey, I'm thinking about this guy, local invite on our podcast. He's really, you know, got some interesting hobbies and stuff. And starts talking about your hobby, potential business opportunity that you're rolling on. And I'm like, man, this sounds freaking goofy, to tell you the truth. So I don't know anything about it. I know nothing about bees.
This is beekeeping we're talking about, right? Yeah,
right. I know nothing. So I go and do a little Google, because to me, I'm thinking bees they're a pain in the ass. They sting you. It screws up your lawn work. I mean, I got no redeeming value, right? But then I find out it's like a cult. Honest to God.
Seriously, I'm probably getting close to that now that I gotten close.
Well, I just tell you, I mean, these people get into it.
Oh, yeah.
And they just dive in, and it's big.
Oh, it's
Well, see, I thought with you, this was like tossing up a softball to you between all the puns and dad jokes and knock jokes you could do with bees and stuff.
I said
the two of you,
I was born for this. I was always a bee student.
Oh, wow. We got a match here. So we got the whole real estate thing. You were born to be in real estate, and you were born to dominate Livingston.
There you go.
Right? That's what we're talking about, right? So how did you get into this thing?
So you get to that. Here I am in my 60s trying to figure out what else I'm going to do. And for some reason I just was like fascinated, and it sort of was compelling to hear that bees are so endangered because. So
people like me
go
to Home Depot and buy a can like this. And
the short summary is 50% of the bees every year die because they believe it's tied to pesticides, environmental issues, and mites of all things, which we'll talk about a bit. But anyway, and so bees, if it wasn't for beekeeping, bees are in trouble. So. Beekeepers only represent, I think it's like 30 to 40% of the bees that are out there. So you got wild bees still, but with 50% death rate of things, that wouldn't last real long, So it's fascinating, and I just thought, this seems like a good thing to do. Frankly, my parents have a large chunk of real estate. That's a farm that they've had since I grew up on. And because of that, and they've gone into assisted living, I have to be out there almost daily. And I thought, what could I do daily out here? I don't want to be the farmer. We have farmers who farm the land, but I want to do something that's just cool. And I thought, bees sound cool, And my wife worked with a professor. She works at the University of Michigan in the business school, and a professor had retired, but he had bees. And I thought, we might do this. And I said to her, what do you think of this? And she goes, I think she evaluated all the things that you could have a midlife crisis with and went, this cannot be that expensive. You can go do that, And she just basically, don't let the dog get stung and don't make me do this. And I'm like, okay.
Should she have told you to buy the Corvette instead?
Oh, well, I'm not getting into on the money, but it might have been a little more assured, And as I told her when I started, I says, she goes, you don't know a darn thing about it. I go, I know, but I says, these things have been around for 1 million years. All I can do is screw it up, right?
Right, yeah.
Anyway, so I bought.
So do you wear one of those hat things?
Well,
I just want to know.
Yes.
You got pictures? You put them on social media.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, well, you won't know it's me, but you'll go, that's a geeky looking thing. The beauty
you ain't
is,
seen his suits.
There's a guy up in Cohocton who is probably one of the more well-known beekeepers in the state and all that. And so luckily he's in our backyard, and he does an orientation class I took in the winter that got me even more interested. And people were from all over the state to go there, and people buy stuff and everything from this family, this Turtle Bee Farms. And anyway, so
now what's the name of his organ?
Turtle Bee Farms.
Turtle Bee. Yeah,
and great family.
In where?
In Cohocton. Yeah. Yeah.
This is
say that again.
Last, you know where Cohocton is. If I just, it's in the middle state. No, anyway. Yeah. So it's fun to have somebody that's close by, and so I just got into it. The problem with the whole bee stuff is you better go in. If you jump in, you better get into it like real fast, real hard, because there's a whole lot to learn really fast. But that's all right. It's fun. It's a challenge. It's great.
Give us some highlights.
So let's see here. So, a lot of people do it for the honey, but the first year your hive, because when you get the bees for the first time, you get so there's different kind.
Can we stop for a second?
Yeah, yeah.
I've been to a lot of grocery stores and things. I've never seen bees for sale. So when you say get bees, where does one?
From a guy like this, the Turtle Bee Farms.
Okay.
Actually, you should know, if you went online, you'd find out you can buy bees by the whatever from down south every spring. People do that. You can buy. They come in a little package. Mm-hmm. I think it's a 3-pound package. They just come in the mail. People go, oh, that's cool. I mean, and they think like you got like 10 bees or something like that. No, they give you like 10,000 bees.
Are you kidding me?
No, 10,000 bees in a queen, and you start your what they call nuke, which is the first box in frames where you put them in and they start building their hive, and you hope that they stay and so forth. And then
It suggests you let the bees, when you go home tonight, crawl on your arm and get used to you. They smell you and get,
So it is funny because everybody worries about getting stung, and I would say
that's why they wear the goofy hat.
Yeah, and the majority of the beekeepers I know, we all put a hood on because getting stung around the face is really quite painful. I had one under the chin. I was like, oh, that hurt. But anyway, the rest of it, a lot of beekeepers that do a lot of it don't wear anything else. They sense anxiety if you're not all stressed up. They don't just come out and bite you. You smoke them before you access the thing, and by smoking them, you take a.
Well, Les has smoked a lot of things.
Yes, I would say
bees would be a first.
Most of the things the stuff you might have smoked may not be the smoke you want to have the bees have.
Yeah.
But
or it might be.
It could be.
It'd be really lethargic.
Happy bees.
They'd eat all your Doritos.
yeah, right. No killer bees here.
So before you go into a hive, you give them a little bit of smoke, and it does something to their primitive cycle that makes them go into like protecting the hive thing, and they don't care about you. And then
they're stoned.
And they're really scared. I'm not sure. I think some people think it's the old forest fire thing, and they're protected. Other people say it makes them honey or whatever. So you open it up, and so you can handle them. They crawl on you and all that. Now, when you're an amateur like I am, I'm like wearing my watch. So the first bee crawls by my watch, doesn't like that, and stings me. I go, okay, can't do that. Take off your watch. I had one. I was getting a little cocky in the early part of the summer. I'm out there in shorts. Bad idea. Bad idea. Found that they will find a way up your shorts. So anyway, don't do that.
Hence a little cocky.
Yeah, that would be it. Don't itch that.
Oh my gosh.
That's,
all right.
Well, we're going to edit that out, John. I'll be on social probation here.
Yeah, so it's just fascinating. So I joined a bee club that's out of Ann Arbor, and what that did was gave me access to other members, and they actually have so many members they haven't broken into regions. So I got contacted.
Wait a minute, did you say they haven't broken into regions, or did you say they got them broken into beegens? I think you said beegens.
The Bee Gees.
Yeah.
So I got contacted by a few people I didn't even know were in it that are in this community. One gentleman up in Heartland I've known all my life, and he's really heavily into it. So I've gone up and visited his operation, and it's just fun to all of a sudden, like you say, the cult thing starts to develop. Everybody's got to see each other, talk about what they got, and what are you doing with this, and I'm always going, I'm so inferior. I have no idea. I'm like, I'm so behind. But,
that's nuts.
Yeah, so that's cool.
So you got into it. You got your 10,000 3-pound package.
Well, I had the bee farm actually do what they called the nukes. So I got when they were ready, a few weeks after they'd gotten them, I go up and they put the frames into my box, and I bring my boxes back, and I have my.
Now, did you build
hives.
this thing?
So no, I bought the hives together. I mean, there's lots of people that can build them, and I'm sure I could. There's only so much time. Well,
right? Yeah.
This is a hobby, man. So I'm not making a career. So
are they kind of like a window, like almost?
Yeah, I don't know. What are they?
So a Langstrom box is what's the standard thing you sort of see around. It got standardized back in the 1800s. And inside the box are frames. And then you put these frames in, and if you don't have anything in those frames, the bees will build a hive. But if the most of us use a medium inside that, so it's got a flat medium in there. They build their hive on that.
Okay.
So imagine your first year, you have all these bees. They're trying to get ready. They got to build the hive. They got to lay the eggs. They got to get the honey. They don't do as much honey keeping, so you don't get much honey the first year because they're in the business of building the hive, So like I didn't get really any honey this year, and it shouldn't have been expected. Some people get, but most people don't get that much because during that spring they're building everything they need, and as the hive grows and they lay more eggs and more bees develop, you add another box and more frames, and then ultimately, once you have like a couple base boxes where they spend all their time laying the eggs and having more bees, they start to want to push out the honey they're storing up. And that's when you put in what they call supers, boxes that go on top that collect the honey. Oh. But the big thing about this is you say, well, great, you get all this honey. Well, the goal is to get the excess honey, but since you're worried about the bees making it through the winter, they eat the honey all winter to stay alive. So you want them to collect as much honey in the lower level as possible so that they'll make it through the winter. So you don't want to be the guy who took all the honey and then next spring you got a bunch of dead bees because they starved to death because you ate their honey, And so it's a complicated little balance, and I'm trying to learn it. There's this amazing thing they call bee space. I forget what it is. I think it's 2 inches and an eighth or something. And they've learned that bees respect that distance. Anything greater, they try to connect together. Anything smaller than that, they connect together. So you got to try to. That's the space between everything, and you earn this space, and everything's built to the dimension, so bees will go between them without trying to build hive or connect the space together. It's fascinating.
So now, I think you said the other day you had 50, 60,000 bees at one point.
So, my best box of bees, which has done very well, and it's just kept producing, it should be in the range of 55,000 bees in these two, what they call deep boxes. And so it's a crazy world. When you open that baby up, there's bees everywhere, man. You got a lot of bees.
Now, is there one queen for all that?
Yes.
And if you introduced another box of bees, would the bees get along, or do the bees know their own colony?
Bees know their bee, and they actually supposedly they believe it can identify color. So literally, if you just had two sterile white boxes, they would find their way back, but usually just have like a 1 or 2 color things on them, and they go only to their box. They'll know which box is theirs. If you take a box and move it, they will keep coming back to the same place the box was. They always laugh about if you move a box of bees, you got to take them more than 3 miles for their GPS to get screwed up enough to go to the new location. Otherwise, their GPS takes them back to where they were. I mean, they're a phenomenal organization, And so they're laying. So the one queen will live up to a couple of years. She's laying eggs all the time. That's her job. All she does. She looks slightly different. She has a big thorax, the back end of the bee, and she's and so you're trying to find her to make sure she's there,
So the bee's got a big butt.
Yeah, I was gonna say I knew where you're going with this. Don't
tell Julie tonight she's got a big thorax. You may get stung.
Right? Yeah. You're the queen, honey. And so, but anyway, so
now we're editing.
But that it's pretty phenomenal that they go for a couple of years doing this. I mean. And then the bees have quite a societal thing. So if they decide that the queen's not doing a good job or whatever, they can they create another queen inside there. They'll create a special cell, feed it what they call royal jelly. She'll come out and they'll kill the other one, and then that new one will become the queen. And they can there's pheromones, so they know which queen's queen. So I had
kind of like our political system.
Yeah, that was almost easier, right? So
I think some guys tried it, didn't work out well.
Yeah, I think that was civil unrest. I had one box that the queen must have died or something. I went in there about a month and a half ago. I had all these open cells. I had all these bees. I couldn't find a queen, and I had what they call brood, no capped over cells. That meant there was bees being terminated in there, So I had to call and buy a queen, and I had to come down, and they tell you how to introduce it. And you basically keep it in a little box inside the hive for a few days so everybody gets used to smelling her and feeling like that she's one of the gang, and then you let her go, and then you pray like heck they accept her, because if they don't, she's gone. They take care of her.
So what's the going rate on the market for?
I think it was about $29 for a queen.
Wow. So we're talking big money.
Yeah.
Now this may be a stupid question, but can you literally look at the bee and identify the queen? I mean, you're able to do that?
No. In fact, you're supposed to be doing
big
that.
Butt,
now, I will tell you, it's the most distinguishable that you're supposed to. But imagine looking at a screen that has like 4,000 bees on it, and trying to say, now which one's the queen there? I gotta pick, but so it's a little challenging. But so some people mark them. So like the one I recently purchased, they marked it with a color. So if you see a little like pink running around, you go, well, there she is, because it gives you a little more time to pick it out, because it is very hard, But you're supposed to always check to make sure your bees are what they call queen right, making sure there's a queen in there and everything's working fine. And you can tell by how the pattern is of the cells that are covered of the soon-to-be hatched bees, if it's doing a good job and just being dispersed correctly. I mean, it's an amazing learning curve. I'm not even pretending to be that good.
So do you got a name for your community? How you have Brighton, Livingston County?
So I actually I got to tell you, I'm one of those, I get into it too deep. So anyway, I ended up not only taking a name, but getting a graphic made up. So I call it Griffhaven, because it's the Griffith farm. And I've got these griffins beside this like shield made of like honeycomb. And that's that.
Got any merch for sale?
T-shirts coming.
T-shirts are coming. Hats.
So for like Meet the Parents, who's out there doing the honey on the bees?
Special queens. But so it's been it's an amazingly fascinating. The people you meet are great. Everybody's amazingly helpful, because everybody's got the same kind of concept. They want your bees.
Do they
to live.
actually name their areas too?
A lot of people name their farms or name, especially if they're going to sell the honey. I'm not selling honey, but
So what's the future of bees look like for Scott here?
Hey, I don't know. I'd always said I'm just gonna get like 4 hives. I think we're gonna stay at that. I'm learning so much. I probably after this winter, if I start losing hives, I might get all depressed. But we'll find out. I mean, so thinking about the future of bees in general, like the gentleman up in Harlan and a few others, they're trying to raise queen bees and winterize them, or bring them through the winter, not buying the bees out of the south, hoping that might give an upper hand to their beekeeping, and that people would want the winterized bees, that they might do better in the winter and not die off. We'll see.
Do they hope to get like $35 for them as opposed to the $29?
Yeah, I didn't ask the cost. That's a good question.
Trying to boost margin.
Yeah. And so one of the things we didn't talk about, and this the other thing that kills bees, is a thing called the varroa mite, and it's a little tick basically that lives on bees. And what they do is, these little son of a guns, they come in and they get picked up in the wild from other bees. I forget, they got introduced years ago for something, who knows what, but anyway, they've attacked bees. Anyway, they go in and so the process of the queen lays an egg in the bottom of a cell. It sits there for a number of days, and then it turns into a pupa, which is like a grub. That's what I call them. And then they cap off that cell to let it finish maturing. During the period that the egg's in there, these mites lay their eggs in, and many more. Well, that ultimately either distorts or kills the bee growing. And so what happens is, late in the summer, these mites are multiplying at such a rate they can kill off so many of your bees that you don't have winter bees. The bees die through the winter and you don't have any. So the fascinating life cycle of a bee is, most bees live about 45 to 60 days. Soon after they're born, they go out and they do collecting the pollen, and then they come back, and many of them then become like the keeper of the brood. They just stay at the brood before they die. Well, and within the next month, all the brood that's being laid will live almost 6 months. That somehow bees know how to lay another kind of bee that can survive the winter, and they will go and they'll ball up in the hive, and they can generate their own heat and try to make it through the winter. Now,
Now, does you've got honeybees, right?
Honeybees, yeah.
Does it attract other bees? I mean, the wasps or
you're trying to keep.
like
They hopefully are what they call a strong enough hive that they can fight off those kind of things. But you could get a paper wasp development in the back of your hive if they got in. I had to put a mesh across the front to keep field mice out, so that they don't get in this time of year. I mean, everybody likes a dark box that can go in a hole, and some might eat. So you got to keep things out. Yep. So it's a fascinating thing. But the mite thing, there's all these treatments out there to try to control these mites. People who don't treat may lose their whole hives. Other people are trying to treat, but you got to worry about.
I'm sensing a vertical podcast here coming up. Just the bee cast.
The bee cast.
Yeah.
The bee tape.
Yeah, I think you should. I think you ought to get that thing rolling.
Well, see, Scott heard this turnover. All these. And I got 55,000 new people coming every year. You can start charging them rent. You know what I mean? That's what he's.
I gotta get him hooked on raw honey. Can't leave.
Hey, so Scott, you told a little story before we went on this about almonds.
Oh yeah, so one way. So how do beekeepers get in this and make a living out of it? So there's different ways. Of course, there's the bee. Everybody knows the farmer's market, seeing the guy selling his $6, and what makes honey different that you buy like from farmers, or like if I were to give you some honey, is it's unfiltered, unhomogenized, or unheated honey. What that means is it got to the point that the bees made it so it's got a shelf life of it. It's like almost eternal. It's got the humidity down low, but nobody's put it through the heating process to homogenize it, which is what you buy in a store. So a lot of people want raw honey because so many of the things that they, especially people with allergens, can eat honey, and it helps up build their allergens because of a lot of the same flowers and stuff that they like. Ragweed was huge this year. Like that's a huge pollen thing. So eating that helps people get away from the ragweed.
Kind of builds their immunity up.
Yeah. So honey's a big gig, but
raw honey.
But what a lot of people also do is they take these hives and they ship them to California to the almond fields, because almonds can only be pollinized by bees. And so the farmers pay for those to be shipped out there. And that's why up north you'll see in a lot of like the apple orchards, cherry orchards, you see hives. Many times those are people being paid to actually put the hives there and keep the bees there to pollinate those. So there is a business even in that. It's kind of fascinating.
The raw honey will never go bad, right?
Raw honey at the right humidity level never goes bad. So what's fascinating is I had to buy a refractor, and so I had some what they call open honey in the top of one of them, and I decided to take it out. Well, technically that's still nectar until it's been capped over, then you can call it honey. But what it was is it had about 21% water factor in it. If it's not below 18%, you can't leave it on your shelf, and it'll either spoil or it'll crystallize. And so I keep a little bit I got in the refrigerator until it crystallizes. But once it gets below 18%, you can put honey on your shelf and then it's last until you use it.
So it's just kind of cool. He's also telling me off air that if somebody doesn't list their home with him, he takes 10,000 bees and lets them loose.
I think you have a bee problem. But I can solve it.
Couldn't pass inspection. So where do you think this is all going? You personally? Me personally,
I think it's just going to still stay a hobby. I'm not too good at giving up a hobby, so I'll probably keep doing this for a pretty long time. That depends on time too. I don't want to. They say you want to be a beekeeper, not a bee killer. You don't want to just go out there and put it out there and then they all die and you go, well, that was kind of stupid. So
based upon your family history, multi-generations in the community, I mean, are we looking at a future empire here? I don't think my son has a. I think my son thinks I'm nuts. My daughter thinks it's cool. I'm not sure how that works.
I figure we have our first grandchild. I'm like, well, I'm going to be doing this until she's old enough that I can do the whole. Here's what the bee.
Yeah, right.
And who knows?
So now, do you feed your grandchild honey? Raw honey?
You know what? They don't let you give babies honey until at least 18 months, I think it is, because I think they're concerned about the fact it is unfiltered and you're not sure what you're.
Okay.
That's what That's what I've been told.
Wow.
My daughter's in charge of her child, and I don't think she's going to let me tell her what they're doing.
Probably good advice.
Yeah, just sneak in there. But you got the bees, though.
I got the bees.
She
She
can't
wants it.
argue
She's
with
got to
you,
come
you know?
get me.
Yeah.
Yeah. When she came, she had to dance with the smoker all the time because she was always concerned about the bees.
So when you're not smoking things, Scott.
Okay.
When you're not doing honey.
We're drinking things?
Do you drink at all?
Well, yeah, I do.
Do you have a favorite bourbon flavor?
Buffalo Trace seems to be mine. Yeah.
Okay. A little go-to?
Yeah.
Right down here from the canopy, you go down there and say,
go down.
hit me up with the Buffalo Trace.
What's your favorite ones?
You know, Angel's Envy is kind of my go-to.
Is it? Yeah.
Just that, Basil Hayden.
Yeah.
You know, I like anything that Les buys.
Yeah.
So anything that Les brings in the office is good by me.
Free bourbon's the best bourbon?
Yeah. I got a bottle of Kessler's coming in.
That'll teach them.
Well, hey, now hopefully the people found us fascinating to listen to us. I mean, all 12 of them. But this is...
Everybody into the bees.
Yeah, this is... pretty cool stuff.
Cool.
I thought it's interesting.
It is, and I don't do it justice. I'm so new at it, but it is an amazingly interesting world out there. Yeah.
Well, Johnny's sending us notes here through the microphones and headphones here. He wants some free honey, so can he just come down to the bee farm and go get some honey?
Yeah, sure. Just stick your hand in there.
There you go, Johnny.
You're a dog.
Well, good seeing you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You guys, thank you very much for having me. Yeah,
Yep.
appreciate it.
Thank you.